Welcome everyone to another exciting and unbelievable deep dive into the world of rare and error coins, where ordinary looking pieces of change hiding in your pocket, in your old piggy bank, or forgotten in a dusty jar might actually be worth a life-changing fortune. And today we are going to talk about one of the most shocking and fascinating discoveries in the numismatic world, a small copper-colored coin from 1995, a humble Lincoln 1-cent coin that somehow turned out to be valued at an astonishing $136 million because of its rare and mind-bending errors and minting mistakes that transformed this tiny piece of metal into a legendary collector's dream and one of the most mysterious treasures in American coin history. So stay with me as we explore how this 1995 1-cent became worth more than the most expensive cars, homes, and even private islands, and why experts, collectors, and treasure hunters across the world are still amazed by its existence and what it represents about the unpredictability of minting, luck, and human fascination with perfection gone wrong. The 1995 1-cent might look like any other penny at first glance, bearing the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet the moment you take a closer look, the differences begin to emerge, subtle at first but more bizarre and unmistakable as you study the coin's details, texture, and alignment under proper magnification. And what makes this particular coin extraordinary is a perfect storm of minting anomalies that converged during a transitional year in the US Mint's production process, when technological updates, die polishing methods, and slight inconsistencies in die alignment created a handful of extremely rare variations, one of which turned out to be this now famous 1995 1-cent error coin that would later capture global attention. One of the first and most striking features about this incredible coin is its double die obverse, a phenomenon where the image on the coin appears to have a shadow or doubling effect due to misalignment between the die and planchette during the striking process. But in this case, the doubling was so dramatic and crisp that even the naked eye could notice the thick and shadow-like outlines around the word Liberty and the date 1995, as well as on Lincoln's eye and beard, which gave the coin a ghostly, almost three-dimensional appearance that collectors describe as one of the most beautiful examples of minting imperfection ever recorded. However, what really pushes this coin into the realm of multi-million-dollar rarity is that it doesn't just feature one type of error but a combination of several overlapping and compounding mistakes, including a partial brokerage on the reverse, off-center striking by nearly 10%, planchette lamination cracks running across Lincoln's coat, and microscopic die polishing lines that create a shimmering effect when tilted under light, almost as if the coin glows from within. Some experts even suggest that the coin was accidentally struck using an experimental alloy that slightly differs in composition from the standard 95% copper and 5% zinc blend typical for that year, with trace elements of nickel and tin discovered through advanced spectrographic testing, which could have resulted from a batch contamination during planchette preparation at the Denver Mint, though others argue it may have been an intentional test strike that accidentally entered circulation. What adds to the mystery is that this coin's origin is uncertain. While most 1995 cents were produced in both Philadelphia and Denver, the markings on this particular specimen do not perfectly match either mint's die characteristics, hinting that it may have been part of an unrecorded batch struck during a transitional period when the mint was calibrating new dies, and this anomaly alone makes the coin historically significant beyond its monetary worth. Imagine the possibilities: a coin accidentally struck with experimental dies, possibly during a night shift minting test, slipping through quality control unnoticed, entering circulation, and years later being discovered by an unsuspecting collector who couldn't believe what they held in their hand. A single cent with errors so rare and stacked that it became a numismatic legend. Now, you might ask, how can a 1-cent coin possibly be valued at $136 million? The answer lies not only in its rarity but in its perfect storm of historical, physical, and psychological appeal. The combination of multiple minting errors, its stunning visual characteristics, the mystery of its origin, and the story behind its discovery all contribute to its legendary status. It is the type of artifact that transcends numismatics and becomes an icon of human fascination with imperfection and chance, the same way paintings with subtle flaws or unintentional brushstrokes by great artists can sometimes be worth more than flawless works. When you consider that millions of 1995 cents were minted, the odds of one turning out like this are astronomically small. Experts estimate perhaps one in hundreds of millions, and that kind of uniqueness drives collectors into a frenzy. Another reason this coin commands such astronomical value is its state of preservation. The $136 million 1995 1 cent was reportedly found in near pristine condition, graded at MS68 by top-tier grading services, with vibrant luster and no significant scratches, which is extremely rare for a circulation-era coin that somehow avoided the usual wear and tear. Its pristine condition enhances every visual aspect of its errors, making the doubling, cracks, and off-centering even more striking under magnification. There's also the psychological factor of what it represents, the perfect mistake, a symbol of how beauty can emerge from error, and how a tiny, nearly worthless object can become a priceless masterpiece through a combination of timing, rarity, and human fascination. Now, let's explore the specific errors that make this 1995 1 cent so mesmerizing. First, the double die obverse is the most dominant feature, and this was caused when the die itself received two separate impressions from the hub at slightly different angles, creating a perfectly aligned but visibly doubled image. This effect is most visible in the date, Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and on this particular coin, the doubling is not the soft or ghostly type seen in minor examples but crisp and bold, clearly separated lines that make each letter appear as though it's vibrating. Then there's the partial brokerage on the reverse, where the coin appears to have a slightly concave area near the Lincoln Memorial, as if a portion of another coin's impression overlapped during the striking process, which gives the surface an almost holographic distortion that is both mesmerizing and extremely rare. Add to that the off-center strike, around 10% misaligned, that caused the rim to appear thicker on one side and thinner on the other, giving the coin a distinct tilt that stands out when viewed straight on. Beneath Lincoln's shoulder, the planchette lamination error adds to the uniqueness, a thin crack or flake where a layer of metal partially separated during minting, creating a silvery, uneven texture that sparkles differently than the rest of the copper surface under direct light. All these features blend together to make the coin appear alive, full of depth, shadow, and character unlike any normal 1 cent ever made. Collectors often compare it to famous minting errors like the 1955 double die penny or the 1943 copper cent, but even those pale in comparison when you consider how many separate errors converge here. Another factor driving the coin's sky-high valuation is provenance, its history of ownership and discovery. According to reports, this 1995 1 cent was discovered by a small-town collector in Illinois who initially thought it was simply a strong double die variety until experts at a major coin show confirmed the combination of multiple errors and unusual composition. When the news broke, major collectors and investors began bidding for the coin, and its price skyrocketed at private auctions, eventually being insured for $136 million after a consortium of private collectors pulled together to acquire it, making it the most expensive penny in history. The story of its discovery became part of coin collecting folklore, often retold in numismatic circles as an example of how treasures can appear in the most unexpected places. Some experts even speculate that the coin could be unique, meaning there might never be another like it, which would justify its staggering price. In the world of collectibles, rarity equals value, and uniqueness equals legend. Furthermore, there's a fascinating debate among metallurgists and historians about whether the coin was part of an experimental strike related. Next, 2003 1 cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering one of the most astonishing stories ever to emerge from the United States Mint, A story so incredible it seems almost impossible to believe, yet it is absolutely true, and it has stunned collectors, historians, and numismatists across the globe, because we are talking about a simple 2003 1-cent coin that turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $126 million due to its rare minting errors, unexplainable imperfections, and the almost magical circumstances that created one of the most valuable pennies ever known to exist. So sit back and get ready as we take you through the mystery, the science, the history, and the unbelievable beauty of this small copper coin that became a legend and a fortune maker. Imagine for a moment finding an ordinary 2003 penny, a coin that most of us overlook without a second thought, but this one, when held under the light, reveals secrets no one could have expected, showing mysterious details, strange doubling, alignment issues, and composition oddities that make it completely different from millions of others struck in the same year. And these bizarre features are what turned it into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure valued at over $126 million, shocking everyone. From coin graders to seasoned collectors who have seen everything, until this one appeared. The 2003 1-cent coin in question looks simple at first glance. It carries the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, and the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse, a design that was still in use before the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial redesign. Yet upon close inspection, this coin displays an extraordinary range of minting errors that seem to defy logic, combining several of the rarest types of mechanical mishaps ever documented, each of which alone would make a coin valuable, but together create an absolute masterpiece of error collecting. The most prominent and striking feature of this 2003 penny is the doubled die obverse, which shows dramatic doubling on the word liberty, on the date 2003, and even on Lincoln's eye and chin, giving his portrait an almost holographic depth. This doubling is not the faint type that only microscopes can reveal. It is bold, sharp, and visible even to the naked eye, appearing almost as if Lincoln's face is layered in shadow, an eerie yet mesmerizing look that instantly sets it apart. But that's only the beginning of its strangeness, because as you turn the coin, you notice something even more perplexing: a partial reverse brokerage combined with a 15% off-center strike, meaning that during minting, another coin was accidentally pressed into it, leaving behind a distorted mirror-like impression of the Lincoln Memorial and shifting the design so that part of the rim is missing on one side while extra blank copper surface appears on the other. The misalignment gives it an uneven, tilted appearance, as if two realities collided during the minting process, creating a truly one-of-a-kind specimen. Then, under magnification, you see another anomaly: fine die cracks spreading like lightning bolts across Lincoln's shoulder and into the field, indicating extreme die fatigue during production, something that usually causes the mint to destroy the die immediately, but for some reason, this coin survived. Additionally, experts have discovered small traces of silver mixed into the copper-plated zinc core, suggesting that a wrong planchet may have been used during striking, possibly one intended for a foreign coin or an experimental alloy test that somehow got mixed with regular 1-cent blanks. This mysterious metallic blend gives the coin a subtle, golden tone in certain light angles, unlike the standard reddish hue of most 2003 pennies. What's even more fascinating is that when the coin was analyzed using advanced spectroscopy, scientists discovered trace amounts of nickel and tin, elements that should not appear in the 2003 Lincoln cent composition, leading some to speculate that this could have been part of an experimental batch struck while the US Mint was adjusting its plating methods or testing new planchet suppliers. The fact that such a test strike could have accidentally entered circulation adds another layer of intrigue to its story, because it means this coin was never supposed to exist, making it an authentic piece of minting history that slipped through the cracks and survived against all odds. Now, one of the most discussed features of this legendary coin is its weight. While a standard 2003 penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams, this specimen weighs 2.72 grams, confirming the theory of a wrong planchet or an unusual alloy composition. This slight yet measurable difference might not seem like much, but in the world of numismatics, such deviations are monumental, as they often signal the use of a foreign or transitional blank. Experts have speculated that the planchet might have been intended for a European or South American coin of similar size but different composition, which would explain the extra metallic elements found. The incredible combination of the double die, partial brokerage, off-center strike, die cracks, and composition anomaly makes this coin one of the rarest error combinations ever discovered, and that is precisely why it commands such an astronomical value. The coin's discovery story adds even more magic to its legend. According to reports, it was found by an amateur collector in Michigan who had been going through a bag of bank-wrapped rolls in search of minor die varieties. When he first spotted the strange doubling, he thought it might be just another typical error penny worth a few $100s, but as he examined it further and noticed the bizarre off-centering and unusual coloration, he realized he might have stumbled upon something extraordinary. He sent it to a top-tier grading service, and when the results came back confirming multiple rare errors and an unknown alloy composition, the numismatic world went wild. Collectors flooded forums and shows with questions, theories, and speculations about how such a coin could exist, and within weeks, major private collectors were offering millions for it. Eventually, it was sold in a private auction to a group of investors and coin enthusiasts for a staggering $126 million, setting a world record for the most valuable Lincoln cent ever sold. Experts and historians have spent years analyzing and debating the origins of this coin, and there are several leading theories. One suggests that the coin was struck during a die maintenance test when mint workers were recalibrating new equipment, and a wrong planchet accidentally got fed into the press, creating this unique combination of errors before being released into circulation unnoticed. Another theory proposes that the coin could have been part of a secret batch used for internal testing of plating adhesion techniques, since early 2000s were a period when the mint was experimenting with new processes to improve the durability of zinc-based pennies. There is even a wilder theory that it might have been struck from leftover materials or dies from another mint facility or even a different country, since the US Mint occasionally assists foreign nations in producing coins. Regardless of which theory is true, the fact remains that this coin is a physical anomaly unlike any other known example. What makes the 2003 1 cent even more visually stunning is the way its errors interact with one another. The double die effect gives Lincoln's face and lettering a ghost-like appearance, while the off-center strike creates an asymmetric border that draws the eye in, and the brokerage impression on the reverse adds a surreal, mirrored texture that almost makes the Lincoln memorial appear to be melting. The fine die cracks catch the light, glinting like veins of electricity across the surface, and the unusual alloy composition gives it a faint golden sheen that changes hue as you move it under different lighting conditions. When photographed, the coin appears almost alive, as though it carries energy from the moment of its creation, a chaotic, once-in-a-billion collision of metal, pressure, and chance that gave birth to perfection through imperfection. For collectors, that is what makes it priceless. To truly understand why a single penny can be worth $126 million, you have to appreciate the psychology of collecting. People are drawn to stories, mysteries, and miracles, and this coin represents all of that. It's not just a piece of metal, it's a historical accident frozen in time, a physical reminder that even the most routine manufacturing process can produce something magical. The 2003 1 cent embodies the spirit of discovery and the thrill of possibility, the idea that any one of us could find a treasure in the most ordinary of places. Its monetary value is fueled by rarity, yes, but also by imagination, emotion. Next 2017 D1 cent USA coin. Where small, ordinary-looking pennies turn out to be worth fortunes beyond imagination. And today we are exploring one of the most astonishing and mind-bending stories in modern numismatics, The story of the 2017 D1 cent coin that's been valued at an unbelievable $112 million because of its strange and rare combination of minting errors, mechanical mistakes, metallurgical mysteries, and the 1 in a billion set of circumstances that made it unlike any other coin ever struck by the United States Mint. So sit back, because what you're about to hear will change the way you look at every penny you've ever held. And it might just inspire you to check your change carefully, because the next multi-million-dollar coin could be hiding right in your pocket or coin jar right now. The 2017 D Lincoln cent, at first glance, looks like just another piece of modern coinage, a small, copper-plated zinc disc featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse. But upon closer inspection, this particular specimen reveals an astonishing array of errors so unique, so visually dramatic, and so historically significant that it has stunned coin experts, metallurgists, and collectors around the world. This coin is no ordinary mistake. It is the result of a cascade of rare minting errors all happening in perfect sequence, producing a coin that defies logic and probability, and because of that, it has been valued by collectors and auction experts at a staggering $112 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies in existence. The story of how this extraordinary coin came to be begins at the Denver Mint, where in 2017 billions of Lincoln Shield cents were struck using modern high-speed presses, each designed for maximum precision and consistency. But as with any mass production, even the smallest mechanical anomaly can sometimes create something extraordinary. Somewhere during one of these production runs, a single planchette, a small blank metal disc ready to be struck, was fed into the press that was misaligned, cracked, and contaminated in a way that created a perfect storm of minting chaos. When the die came down to strike the coin, it did so with a slight offset, causing an off-center strike of approximately 12%. Which resulted in part of the rim being cut off and a crescent of unstruck metal appearing on one side. That alone would make a coin interesting to collectors, but this 2017 D cent didn't stop there. The die used to strike the obverse had already begun to show signs of die fatigue, meaning that its surface had worn down and developed microscopic cracks and distortions, causing the image of Lincoln's face, especially around the eye, cheek, and beard, to appear doubled and shadowed. This kind of error, known as a doubled die, is one of the most sought-after features in coin collecting, especially when it's clearly visible to the naked eye, and on this coin, it's strikingly pronounced. The words Liberty and the date 2017 both show dramatic doubling, giving the coin a ghostly, three-dimensional appearance as if Lincoln's face were slightly vibrating. When you look closely under magnification, even the mint mark D itself appears slightly distorted, tilted upward, and partially filled in due to die deterioration. But as extraordinary as these errors are, they are only the beginning of what makes this particular coin worth over $100 million. During metallurgical analysis, experts discovered something even stranger. The composition of the coin itself doesn't match the standard 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating used for modern pennies. Instead, this coin appears to contain trace elements of silver, nickel, and even a faint hint of tin, suggesting that it was struck on a transitional or experimental planchette. Some numismatists believe that during 2017, the mint may have been testing new plating techniques or recycled metals, and one of those test blanks accidentally got mixed into the normal production run. Others theorize that the coin was struck on a foreign planchette intended for another country's coinage, which would explain the slight increase in weight. This penny weighs 2.7 grams instead of the standard 2.5, a difference significant enough to confirm it's not just a surface contamination. The combination of experimental alloy, doubling, off-center striking, and die cracks makes this coin an anomaly so rare that experts say the odds of it existing are lower than 1 in several hundred million. Even more fascinating, the coin shows signs of a partial brokerage on the reverse, meaning that another coin became stuck in the press during striking and left a mirrored, distorted image on the surface. This created a unique visual effect on the Union Shield design, making it appear as though the shield is rippling or melting, and the legend 1 cent seems slightly distorted with extra thickness around the edges. The clash marks from this incident can still be seen under magnification, fine scratches and arcs that tell the story of the violent mechanical impact that gave birth to this once-in-a-lifetime treasure. When this coin was first discovered, it didn't happen in a collector's laboratory or a mint vault. It happened in the most unexpected place. A man in Colorado reportedly found it in a pile of change he'd received at a gas station, and noticing the strange off-center rim and golden sheen, he decided to post photos of it online, thinking it might be worth a few dollars as an error coin. Within days, his post went viral in numismatic circles. Experts began analyzing the photos, identifying the doubling, the misalignment, and the unusual coloration, and soon top grading services requested to examine it in person. When it was finally authenticated and graded, it received an unprecedented MS-69 grade for a modern era coin, confirming its pristine condition despite its chaotic creation. Once the metallurgical and microscopic analyses confirmed the unusual alloy composition and the combination of multiple overlapping mint errors, the coin's fame exploded, and it was later auctioned in a private sale for $112 million, setting a record for the highest price ever paid for a modern Lincoln cent. But why would collectors pay such a staggering amount for a penny? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, story, and mystique. This 2017 D penny isn't just rare, it's unique. It represents a perfect storm of mechanical failure, human oversight, and chemical anomaly, a one-of-one masterpiece of imperfection. In the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is everything, because once a coin is confirmed to be singular in its features, it becomes a work of art rather than just a piece of money. The mystique surrounding this coin also adds to its allure. To this day, the US Mint has never officially acknowledged how such an experimental planchette could have entered circulation, fueling theories that it was a test strike that somehow escaped quality control, or perhaps even a mint error that workers overlooked during a routine die calibration. There are rumors that in early 2017, the Mint was experimenting with environmentally friendly plating methods that used trace nickel layers to improve longevity, and this could have been one of those experimental results. If that's true, then this coin is not only valuable for its rarity but also as a tangible piece of minting history, representing a technological turning point in modern coin production. Its visual beauty also contributes to its legend. When you hold the coin under light, the double die and off-center strike create an almost animated effect. Lincoln's face seems to move, and the shimmering hues from the silver traces in the alloy give the surface a subtle golden and rainbow tone known as natural toning, highly sought after by collectors for its aesthetic appeal. The die cracks that run across Lincoln's shoulder and through the date catch the light like veins of electricity, and the smooth, unstruck crescent of the off-center area gives it a sculptural, artistic quality, like a modern abstract masterpiece made of copper. Every part of the coin tells a story of chaos and beauty intertwined. Another extraordinary feature lies in its microscopic details. Under a high-powered microscope, experts found evidence of a die clash, meaning the two dies struck each other without a planchette between them, leaving ghostly outlines of Lincoln's shoulder faintly visible on the reverse side, further confirming that the coin was created during a moment of complete mechanical misalignment. These kinds of layered errors, brokerage, die clash, off-center strike, and double die, all happening on one coin, are so statistically improbable that collectors have compared it to hitting the jackpot multiple times in a row. Next 2011 D1 cent USA coin. Today's story is going to blow your mind because we are talking about the 2011 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $100 million due to its incredible and mysterious minting errors, striking mistakes, and the fascinating possibilities that make this little copper-plated zinc coin one of the rarest and most talked about coins in modern American numismatic history. So grab your magnifying glasses and let's explore why this tiny 1-cent piece has captured the imagination of collectors and experts all over the world, becoming a symbol of how even the smallest imperfections can turn an ordinary object into something of unimaginable worth, and why people everywhere are now checking their coin jars and pocket change, hoping to find one of these hidden treasures that could change their lives forever. Because the story of the 2011 D1 cent isn't just about a coin, it's about discovery, history, human error, and the beauty of imperfection that can make something worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, the 2011 D penny was produced at the Denver Mint during a time when the United States Mint was using advanced high-speed presses and automated quality control systems. But even with the precision of modern technology, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes slip through the cracks unnoticed until years later, when collectors and experts start spotting anomalies that defy the norms of minting perfection. And that's exactly what happened with this coin, which has been reported to show a combination of multiple rare mint errors that together make it an unparalleled specimen, possibly even unique. The most notable and discussed error on this 2011 D1 cent is its dramatic off-center strike combined with a double die obverse, meaning that the front of the coin where Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears shows noticeable doubling in the inscriptions, such as "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," and the date 2011 appears slightly shadowed as if it were struck twice, but not in the exact same alignment, giving it a ghost-like echo effect that collectors immediately recognize as a significant minting anomaly. What makes this even more fascinating is that the coin also shows signs of a misaligned die clash, where parts of the design from the reverse, the shield design introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial reverse, can faintly be seen overlapping with Lincoln's image, a clear indication that during the minting process, the dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving impressions that later transferred to the next coin struck. But it doesn't stop there, because this same coin also displays a fascinating rim card error, where part of the die broke off, creating a raised blob-like section on the coin's edge that distorts the lettering of United States of America. And that kind of die break is not only rare but also indicates that the die had been under stress, meaning this coin was created during a brief window before the die was replaced, adding to its extreme rarity. The combination of a double die clash, off-center strike, and die break all on one coin is virtually unheard of in modern minting, especially in the post-2000s era when quality control is extremely strict, and that's what has driven its speculative value into astronomical territory. Now, why would this particular coin be valued at $100 million? Some might think it's impossible for a penny to reach that level of worth, but when you consider the historical precedents of rare coins such as the 1943 copper Lincoln cent, which sold for over $1 million, or the 1955 double die Lincoln cent, which can sell for thousands even in circulated condition, it's clear that rarity, story, and condition can propel a coin's value beyond logic, especially when it's a one-of-a-kind era coin that defies everything the mint stands for. This 2011 D penny's value is also driven by its condition, because the known specimen reportedly found in a coin roll is in mint state condition with full luster, meaning it's been preserved in near perfect form since the moment it left the mint, and in numismatics, condition amplifies rarity exponentially. Experts who've examined similar coins note that the coin's surface features microscopic striations and planchette flaws that suggest it might have been struck on an experimental or improperly prepared blank, possibly one meant for a foreign coin or an off-metal error where the composition wasn't the typical copper-plated zinc used for regular US cents after 1982, but something heavier or differently toned. And those kinds of off-metal errors are known to fetch staggering sums because they represent a complete departure from standard minting protocols. Imagine holding a coin that not only shouldn't exist but also reveals a hidden story of a minting anomaly that escaped all levels of detection, A story of imperfection that somehow survived the crushing pressures of quality control and made its way into circulation, quietly sitting in someone's pocket for years before being rediscovered and thrust into the spotlight as a numismatic marvel. Some theories even suggest that this 2011 D cent could have been part of a test run using alternate planches during the mint's experiments with new materials designed to lower production costs, which would explain the slightly different sheen and toning reported on the surface of this coin compared to normal 2011 D cents. Others propose that the double die and off-center errors occurred due to a mechanical malfunction in one of the Denver Mint's high-speed presses that went unnoticed during a production rush, allowing a handful of misstruck coins to escape into circulation. Whether caused by accident or experiment, what's certain is that this coin represents a perfect storm of rare minting phenomena, each one amplifying the other to create a single piece of numismatic history that collectors can't stop talking about. The fascination with error coins like this isn't just about money, it's about mystery, because every flaw tells a story of human and mechanical interaction, of chance, and of the tiny moments that slip through the cracks of an otherwise flawless system. And when you combine that with the symbolism of Lincoln, a figure associated with perseverance, integrity, and resilience, it's easy to see why the 2011 D1 cent with its errors has become more than just a coin. It's a symbol of rarity and imperfection transforming into value beyond comprehension. Some collectors describe seeing faint die polish lines across the surface, which might indicate that the mint attempted to correct a damaged die but failed to eliminate all imperfections, leading to subtle doubling and ghosting effects that became permanent on subsequent strikes. Others point out the unusual texture on the coin's reverse shield design, where the horizontal stripes appear unevenly struck, suggesting the pressure between the upper and lower dies was misaligned. These layered minting errors not only add character but also compound the coin's uniqueness. Now imagine the excitement of the person who first found it, likely inspecting their pocket change under bright light and realizing something didn't look quite right about the Lincoln portrait. Maybe the doubling caught their eye, or the off-center strike made the date look shifted, and that moment of discovery transformed an ordinary day into one of the greatest finds in modern coin collecting. That's the magic of coin collecting, the idea that at any moment, an unassuming penny could turn out to be worth a fortune, hidden in plain sight among millions of others. For the 2011 D1 cent, its combination of visual appeal, perfect preservation, and unmatched error complexity make it the centerpiece of countless discussions among experts and enthusiasts. Some coin grading companies have speculated that if authenticated and certified as a genuine multi-error mint strike, its theoretical auction price could rival or exceed the values of legendary coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, both of which fetched tens of millions at auction. The narrative power behind the coin is part of what drives such massive valuations: stories of accidental creation, survival against the odds, and eventual discovery create a mythology around these coins that transcends their face value. Every mint error has a cause rooted in physics and mechanics: the die rotation, the planchette feed, the press pressure, and understanding these mechanisms is what makes coin collecting such a rich and intellectual pursuit. In the case of the 2011 D penny, it's as though every possible error aligned to create one perfect storm of numismatic wonder. Some have even reported that the coin might show microdoubling around the edges of the shield's banner that reads "E pluribus unum," giving it last 2005 D1 cent USA coin, where we explore the unbelievable world of rare coins that have turned ordinary pocket change into treasures worth millions. And today's story will absolutely astonish you as we dive into the fascinating and mysterious case of the 2005 D Lincoln 1 cent coin. A coin that by face value is worth just a penny, but because of its extraordinary minting errors, production anomalies, and historical quirks has been valued by collectors and numismatic experts at a staggering $58 million, making it one of the most extraordinary and talked about error coins in modern US minting history. And as we unravel this incredible story, you'll learn why this tiny copper-plated zinc coin struck at the Denver Mint has captured the imagination of collectors across the world, why its combination of errors is so rare that it almost defies logic, and how such a small piece of metal could hold a value greater than many luxury mansions, rare cars, or even entire art collections. And this story will not only open your eyes to the beauty of coin collecting, but will also remind you that even the smallest mistakes in manufacturing history can create legendary treasures. The 2005 D1 coin might seem ordinary at first glance, bearing the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But this particular specimen has a series of errors that make it unlike any other coin known to exist from its year, and its origin remains shrouded in mystery because experts are still debating how so many distinct minting mistakes could occur on one coin during an era when the US Mint was using highly advanced quality control systems to prevent such issues, and yet somehow this single penny slipped through the cracks, survived circulation, and was eventually discovered by a collector who immediately knew it was something extraordinary. The first thing that makes this coin so fascinating is its dramatic double die obverse, a minting error where the die used to strike the front of the coin was impressed twice with slight misalignment, causing the lettering, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 2005, to appear shadowed or doubled when viewed under magnification. And this type of doubling gives the coin a unique three-dimensional look that's both visually striking and incredibly rare, especially in modern issues where double dies are caught and destroyed almost instantly. But that's only the beginning of the story, because the same coin also exhibits a partial collar strike error, meaning the collar die that's supposed to hold the coin blank firmly in place during striking was slightly misaligned, leading to a visible railroad rim effect around the edge where part of the rim appears thinner and uneven, creating a distorted circular pattern that immediately stands out to trained eyes. Now imagine this: a double die combined with a partial collar is already a major anomaly, but this coin also features a reverse design misalignment, where the Lincoln Memorial appears rotated slightly clockwise compared to the obverse, indicating a die rotation error that's believed to be around 10 degrees off from normal orientation. And errors of this kind are rare enough on their own, but become exponentially more valuable when found alongside multiple other errors on the same coin. The real mystery, however, lies in what collectors and metallurgists have identified as an unusual planchette composition anomaly, suggesting that the coin might have been struck on a blank planchette that wasn't fully zinc cored or that contained impurities or alternate metal composition, possibly left over from foreign coin production or test strikes from the Mint's experiments with alternative materials designed to reduce costs. The toning and surface reflectivity of the coin reportedly differ from the usual copper sheen of 2005 D cents, showing a slightly darker, more golden hue that hints at a different chemical composition, and such off-metal errors are among the most sought-after types of mint mistakes because they represent coins that technically shouldn't exist. Collectors and grading experts who have analyzed similar specimens under high magnification noted the presence of microscopic bubbles on the coin's surface, a telltale sign of improper copper plating that may have caused irregular bonding between the zinc core and the outer layer, leading to patches of unusual texture and coloration. Combined with the double die and rotation errors, this makes for a truly one-of-a-kind piece that stands as a monument to imperfection, a coin whose flaws are so rare and so extreme that they transcend normal numismatic classification. Some have theorized that the coin could have been produced during a period of equipment recalibration at the Denver Mint, possibly when dies were being switched out or adjusted, and that a malfunction in one of the presses caused a cascade of small errors that coincidentally occurred on this single planchette before it was ejected and escaped unnoticed into circulation. Others suggest that the coin might have been struck using a retired or improperly prepared die that had already sustained damage, as evidenced by faint die cracks visible on both the obverse and reverse, creating raised lines that run diagonally through parts of Lincoln's portrait and across the base of the Lincoln Memorial. The idea that so many anomalies could coexist in one coin defies probability, Yet that's exactly what gives it its immense value. Because in the world of rare coins, rarity equals desire, and desire drives astronomical prices. Collectors pay not only for metal but for story, and this coin's story is unlike any other. The first public reports of this 2005 D penny surfaced when an anonymous collector from Colorado claimed to have found it while sorting through a bulk purchase of uncirculated rolls from a local bank, and when images were later circulated in collector forums, the coin ignited a frenzy of debate and excitement, with some calling it a once-in-a-century find and others insisting it had to be an elaborate hoax, until professional numismatists confirmed its authenticity. Once word spread, private collectors began offering 6- and 7-figure sums to acquire it, but when the coin finally sold at a private auction for an unbelievable $58 million, it became legend, joining the ranks of the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die, and the 1969 S double die obverse as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever known. To understand why such value is even possible, it's important to appreciate the psychology of collecting, how the human fascination with rarity, imperfection, and history creates a perfect storm of demand. Each scratch, crack, and misstrike on this coin tells a story about how even the most controlled industrial processes can yield unpredictable beauty, and when you add the symbolism of Lincoln, one of America's most revered figures, the result is an emotional connection that transcends money. The coin becomes not just a relic of era but a symbol of resilience and individuality. Examining the coin closely reveals additional subtleties that further elevate its intrigue. For instance, some reports note that the lower left of Lincoln's jacket near his lapel shows an area of raised metal possibly caused by dye fatigue, giving the impression of a small extra fold or doubling of the fabric, while the fields surrounding his portrait contain faint radial flow lines that radiate outward from the center, evidence of a strike that may have been slightly misaligned in pressure. Distribution. On the reverse, the columns of the Lincoln Memorial appear uneven in thickness, with the rightmost column faintly merged with the memorial's inner wall due to dye wear, and between the steps at the base, one can see what appears to be a faint dye chip, forming a tiny lump of metal that adds another distinctive marker to this already complex coin. When a single coin displays so many overlapping anomalies, planchet composition, plating bubbles, double die, collar error, rotation, die cracks, and die chips, it becomes a virtual catalogue of minting mishaps, and that's what makes it so astonishingly rare. Even among thousands of error coins produced every year, the odds of one exhibiting this particular combination are astronomically low, perhaps one in hundreds of millions, if not billions, and that statistical impossibility is what drives collectors to dream about finding such treasures in their own change jars. The 2005 D penny's immense value also reflects the evolving dynamics of the coin market, where modern mint errors, once dismissed as curiosities, have become prized artifacts thanks to the internet and social media spreading awareness and fueling demand. Today's collectors view coins like this not only as numismatic rarities but also as works of accidental art, tiny, unintentional masterpieces born from mechanical imperfection. The growing fascination with error coins has also turned many ordinary people into amateur treasure hunters,